live.
It's good?
Yep.
Hello, and welcome again to Mentor Mondays. As usual, I'm AJ.
This is Diana.
And today I will be leaving camera, but it's for a very good reason. We have another one of our great panels today, so we have some special guests from around campus here to answer your questions. So be sure to watch the video, make sure you listen to everything they say, and if you have any questions, leave them in our chat box and we'll answer them at the end.
Yeah, at the end we'll bring all the guests back and we'll do kind of like a little questions and answers. And so any questions y'all put in the chat box, we'll be looking out for them and we'll answer them at the end.
Yeah, I will be behind the scenes making sure anything you say is heard. So I guess do you want to just like get going with it? All right, I will see you guys in like 2 weeks then. And let's invite our first guest up.
So our first guest is from the Student Leadership Center, Vincent Perez.
Hey y'all, how's it going?
Hi, how are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good, I'm alright. Okay, so let's start off. What are some programs that the Student Leadership Center provides?
So the Student Leadership Center, we provide a variety of leadership programs throughout the school year, and they're focused on different leadership core competencies, including teamwork, situational leadership, individual leadership, organizational leadership, mind mapping, personal development, responsibility, accountability. And so we do it through a variety of ways. Two of our really well-known programs are our Social Justice Civil Rights Experience, which is a 5-day bus tour of the Deep South. We go into the historical civil rights movement. We're looking at different monuments from that movement. So this past year we went to Little Rock, Arkansas. We got to see Little Rock Central High School, which was a high school that was the site of a monumental court case integrating the high school, the Little Rock 9. We went to Birmingham, Alabama, where we got to see 16th Street Baptist Church, which is the site of a bombing that killed 4 little girls during the civil rights movement. There's also Kelly Ingram Park, which is the site of various protests and activist rallies and whatnot. And then we went to the Civil Rights Institute, which is also located in Birmingham, which is an excellent piece of history that kind of dives you in right into the middle of the civil rights movement. And it's very emotional, but also very informational and educational. And then we end that trip in Memphis. And so we're in Memphis, and Memphis has so much, I can't really mention it all, but there's a couple highlights. The Lorraine Motel is there, where Dr. King was assassinated. It's the National Civil Rights Museum now, which is an excellent museum. Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum, which is actually a house where the owner in the 1800s actually housed slaves on the Underground Railroad. And so excellent trip. It's the only program we have that actually costs students a little bit more money out of pocket. It's $150, but it's a phenomenal trip, and we kind of back it up with some films we watch on the bus. We have some really great conversations afterwards. You're put into small groups led by students who've been on the trip before. And so it's an excellent opportunity to kind of dive into the historical civil rights movement, but learn and talk about contemporary social justice issues. And so kind of building off of that, another program we have is our Social Justice for San Antonio experience. And that is a 1-day social justice experience focused right here in San Antonio, looking at some of the social justice issues happening in our backyard here as community members of this great city. And so this year that trip takes place in early April, and it'll focus on a variety of different programs. And so we usually work with nonprofit groups. Move San Antonio is a nonpartisan voter motivational group, right? So they're trying to get young people out there to vote, get the vote out. And so you'll see them around campus from time to time. A lot of their students actually graduated from UTSA, including some of their founders. So we work with them every year. They're a great group. We really know how to motivate and organize young people. Awesome, phenomenal at that. In the past, we've worked with San Antonio Cultural Arts, and we do an art tour of the west side of San Antonio, where all the murals out there are designed and commissioned by this group, and they all have purpose, right? They all have intent. So some of them are celebrating San Antonio veterans, some of them are celebrating San Antonio nightlife, entertainment, art, music, and some of them are highlighting different social justice issues across the west side. And so it's a really great way to kind of beautify the west side while also telling a story through art. And so I think it's a great opportunity for our students to get out there, see some of the parts of San Antonio you probably wouldn't see on your normal 4-year career here at UTSA. We work with other groups. This year we're also going to be focusing on human trafficking. There's a nonprofit organization that works with victims of human trafficking, so we'll be working with them. It's another program we do. We cover everything. All you gotta do is sign up to go. Another excellent program we have, this is one of my favorites, is our Leadershape Institute. It's a 6-day leadership camp out in New Braunfels, Texas. It takes place from Sunday, May 13th this year to Friday, May 18th. And we spend the whole week out there learning a lot about leadership, integrity, excellence. You do a lot of self-discovery, so you're kind of helping you dive into what is it you're passionate about, what are your interests, how can you make your interests and passions useful for the world? How can you use them to make the world a better place? It sounds really cliche when we talk about like that, but really once you go and experience it, there's nothing you can really say to describe the experience of a leadershaper, somebody who's graduated from leadership. And so if you apply for that program and get selected, it is somewhat competitive. We cover the cost of everything once again, and you get to come back on campus. We have a reunion, and there's also opportunities for scholarships after leadership that the national organization Leadershape provides. And so that's those are some of our big, significantly, highly attended programs. Some of our other programs we just started this year, so a social justice film series, which highlights different social justice issues from around the world, and even here in San Antonio. We do that the first Tuesday of every month. So the next one we're doing is called Am Jane Doe. It's in the Retama the first Tuesday of March, and it's actually going to be focusing on human trafficking as well. So that's kind of a trend we've been seeing. A lot of students are interested in learning about human trafficking, and believe it or not, there's actually quite a few places here in San Antonio that are doing that. And so in the past, we did one called Muros, which is on walls, immigration around the world. We've done one on Awake, A Dream from Standing Rock, which kind of focused on environmental protection, Native American rights. And so that's a film series that's in conjunction with the Student Union, formerly the University Center. I'm still getting used to saying that, Student Union, UC. And so that's another cool program we do. And then we do conferences. And so we take students to a variety of conferences. One of the really highlighted conferences we love to take students to is the Texas Conference for Women. It's a one-day conference in Austin, and it's phenomenal. We encourage men to go as well. It's a great opportunity to really learn about our counterparts and how can we be supportive of the needs that they have, both personally and professionally. And so the conference is awesome in that it's one day, but it's jam-packed. There's usually around 6,000 to 7,000 participants from all over the state of Texas and the world. Last time we went 2 years ago, we had Robin Roberts was one of the keynote speakers. We've had Abby Wambach. This past year they had Viola Davis from How to Get Away with Murder and other films, Oscar-winning actress. So excellent program. The program sells out actually super quick, and that is a competitive conference we take students to. Here in March, we're taking students to the Latino Leadership Summit, which will focus on issues and needs of Latino students around the world. Once again, it's another opportunity for people who are not of Latino descent to really get to understand Latinos and the needs they have. We also do a Multicultural Leadership Summit, Southwestern Black Student Leadership Summit, and then just this past Saturday, we wrapped up our one-day leadership conference here at UTSA called Leadership Takeover. And so excellent program. It's a one-day program we do. This is the third year we've done it. Every year it continues to get more successful. A big part of that's because of the student body here just wanting to learn about leadership. So really, if you think about kind of sacrificing a Saturday during your college career, when I was in college, not something I really enjoyed doing. I was trying to sleep in on Saturdays and Sundays. But this conference is a great conference, and we had around 150 students there this past year. So a lot of those programs are based on leadership competencies, and designed to really help students get jobs after college. And that's kind of the whole purpose of the Student Leadership Center, to really help students get jobs after college. And the classic example, if you and your best friend are going for the same job, but only you have that leadership piece on your resume, there's a good chance you can expect to get a call back rather than your friend. And so a lot of companies are telling universities here in the United States, we want graduates to have leadership experience. We want managers, people that can lead our people, motivate, energize our people. So that's kind of a big part of what we do and why we do.
So are all these programs open to any student of any major?
Yes, ma'am. I think the only program we have one restriction on is our civil rights experience, the 5-day bus trip, and at that one we're just asking the students have a GPA in place, right? So if you're a true freshman with no GPA, you'll have to wait till your sophomore year. Otherwise, every program is open to everybody.
Oh, okay, cool. And in the $150 you said for that 5-day bus trip, is that does it cover everything, or is it just the bus expenses?
Right, so actually it just goes towards the trip. We cover the rest, and so we have a nice bus. We're watching films on the bus. We have a microphone on the bus. Hotel stays are pretty nice, I would say, and there's meals provided. So that really just covers a portion of all that goes into the trip.
Cool. And so what is leadership competency?
A leadership competency is basically just a list of leadership traits or attributes that employers have told universities, we want your college students and graduates to have these. And so we've looked into NACE, National Association of College Employers. They release competencies every year based on their surveys and their assessment from different universities and different employers. And they're saying, hey, colleges, this is what employers want to see graduates have this year. And so we kind of take those, put them together, and figure out what can we do? Well, how can we make those effective for our students? How can they get these leadership skills that'll really make them stand out once they start putting their job applications in, or even going to grad school, get into a graduate degree program. So those leadership competencies are key phrases and terms that people want to see coming out of college.
And so how can we contact you if we want to take advantage of these?
So the Student Leadership Center is located in the Student Union right next to the Rios Hair Salon and the Rowdy Mart convenience store. You can always email us, leadership@utsa.edu, super easy, or just come by the office. If you want, our phone number is 210-458-7967. Just give us a call, email, or even tweet us, and we're happy to get back to you.
And we'll definitely have all this in the description below. But that is all the time we have for Leadership Center. Thank you so much for coming. We'll have Vincent back on at the end to answer any more questions that y'all have, so keep writing them in the chat box below.
Thank you very much.
So much. Our next guest will be Elizabeth Propyl from the Tutoring Services. If you're just tuning in, we are having a research panel today from different departments at UTSA. And so please put your questions in the chat box below and we'll get to them towards the end.
Hello. Hi, so good morning, or afternoon, as the case may be. Yeah. So just to give you a little background about what Tutoring Services is, it's one of the student success programs housed under the Tomás Rivera Center. So there's a series of programs supported with them. So tutoring, the main program that we have is the Q-Lab, which is our tutoring center in the JPL. Basically, we see between 15,000 and 30,000 visits a semester. We have pretty much most of the subjects that we support are those that have a high DFW rate, so pretty much math from developmental all the way up to Cal 3 and linear algebra. We have most of the biology, biosciences, chemistry, organic chemistry, physics 1 and 2, engineering, several different statics, dynamics, couple of business courses, economics and business statistics as well are all supported under there. So those are typically the ones that have a high DFW rate. So it's mostly freshman, sophomore level courses that we try to support the most. One question students usually have is, who's doing the tutoring? That is typically students that have either taken the course, passed with an A or B, graduate students. We even have some retired professors who come and volunteer to tutor as well. So we have a pretty good mix of students in there, but they've all either had the course, passed it, or have been experienced in tutoring before. So that's kind of the main program that we have and how it works.
So how would you take advantage of these services as a student?
So our programs, they're free, sort of. You guys already pay for them in tuition and fees, so there's no additional cost for you. It's just a walk-in basis, so during any of our operating hours, which is 10:30 to 6:30 Monday through Thursday, and then 10:30 to 4 on Fridays. You just come in anytime. We'll ask you to sign in at the front desk. We have schedules put out also for each of the subjects that we support by class, so you can see when a tutor is there for a specific course every day of the week. And it's just a walk-in basis. So we have series of tables set up in the lab, and tutors are kind of wandering around each subject area. So as you have a question, we have these little cones that are kind of red, yellow, and green. So if you have a question, you need help, you flip it to the red side. And that lets one of the tutors who's kind of watching and walking around be able to identify, okay, they need help. So they'll come over, you can ask them questions. Now, one of the things we don't do is we don't answer homework questions or exam questions. So anything they're getting a grade on, they cannot answer that exact problem. But what they can do is show we here's a similar example. Let me try different numbers, different arrangement. Here's how you follow it out. So they'll help them work it out that way. But we won't do the exact problems because it's not helpful. But the whole point for us is we want to make students become independent, lifelong learners. That's one of our mottos. Is that we want students to be able to get the help they need, but also to be able to then solve it later on when the tutor is not with them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what our processes are to get at.
What can students do if a specific subject they're interested in or need tutoring isn't available?
So there are other services on campus, and we usually try to refer them to any of the other tutoring centers if the tutor isn't there that day, because sometimes they do call out. There's also a lot of online resources that are available both with the TRC and just Google. But a lot of the times, we'll try to find somewhere else that's open on campus that does a similar service or maybe has the alternative course. But sometimes there's not. There's several subjects that aren't available on campus that tutor that subject as well. So we try to work with that. But we also have a lot of other services beyond just tutoring, the main Q Lab. We have, during the summers, we have a course prep and a chemistry camp during the summer. So incoming freshmen or anybody who's taking Gen Chem or Basic Chem, basically it's a 1 week or 3-day like crash boot camp where they have, they come and work with the professor, get review on the material, and then they get to take the chemistry placement test at the end. And then for the beginning of the semesters in the fall and the spring, we also have course prep for organic chemistry, and I believe biosciences, and 1 or 2 of the intro to computer science courses where they basically work with the professor to kind of get a preemptive look at the material and kind of get them up to speed for the beginning of the semester. And that seems to be very helpful for them. They kind of get a a review before the semester starts so that they're up to speed at the start of the semester.
And is there any, like, I know that UTSA is big on their data. Is there data showing that students who come to these tutoring services actually improve their grades? Yes,
so like all the TRC programs, most of us are always tracking data to see how helpful it is. And for us, we do know one of the things we emphasize is that, coming right before a test or just once isn't really going to be very helpful. The ones who have shown to be successful are those who are coming consistently, at least every week, preferably a couple of hours a week is the best view. Just because they're getting the consistent and continuous support, so they're always looking at material and they have somebody readily available and they've already paid for it in tuition. So that's the best we've seen in terms of data, is that if they're coming consistently, that seems to have a higher impact than just once or twice. And you come in different times in the semester, so right before exams is usually when we see a huge crowd come in. Yeah. And we get people all the semester going, oh, I didn't even know this existed, or, this is the first time being here, and we're like, yeah, so we try to jump in from then on, hey, try to come often, come early, come often. That's one that we emphasize, because it does help when you come consistently. And that's we've seen with our other programs that we're in charge of with, it's called Math Assistance Program in NCB, which is developmental writing and math courses that we also help support specifically individual classes within those subjects.
Cool. And so you guys, you said that it's Monday through Friday, so weekends you aren't open?
We're not open currently this semester. On the weekends, we had little demand for the weekends. One of our sister programs, if you're in Algebra for Scientists and Engineers, which is 1073, the Math Matters program, they're actually open 7 days a week for tutoring, but it's just that specific course that they have a tutoring center for.
Okay, and that one is located?
That one is in the main building. It's 0.224, and they have their website for that program and all the information about it available online, and if you stop by.
And do you have any prep courses for any exams like the MCAT or GRE?
So we don't have specific material available. As long as you're enrolled at UTSA and you have questions that are most of those are math, general physics, engineering, those kinds of questions, you can come in if you have materials and you want to ask questions about it. Our tutors are available because they're familiar with most of the material anyway. So we're happy to have students come in who have questions and they want to get assistance with it, as long as they have something to ask the tutors on. But we don't do a pre-prep course for it.
And so what can students do if, say, the table is full for a specific subject?
So what we usually do is we'll have them, say the organic chemistry tables are full, is that there may be a table right behind it that's technically for accounting or finance, but if it's not full, we'll just sit there. And we'll tell the tutors, we'll let them know, hey, also look at this table. So we try to sit them close to it so that they're in the same area. Because most of the tutors do, if they're science, they're also able to do math as well, so they're kind of watching a large zone for students that have assistance. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And so you said your peak times are usually between midterms and finals?
Well, yes, right around exams. So we had midterms, a lot of students had exams about a week and a half ago. So we had a lot of students in. So right now is kind of the after and before the next exam starts. So it's kind of slows, and then it picks up again right before all the different subjects have exams. So it kind of cycles. We see a lot of students there for science when they have an exam, and then the next week will be math or like statistics and like that. So it kind of cycles through when the different courses have classes. But definitely right before midterms and right before finals is when everybody comes in, yeah.
So the best time to find like that one-on-one would be probably when there's that lull and stuff.
Yes, or in the mornings. We typically have kind of a slow, before noon there are less students there, so you have a better shot of getting one-on-one tutoring. And kind of in the late afternoon, you have more of a chance of getting that kind of one-on-one support.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. That is our 10 minutes. So thank you again. We'll have her back for the questions at the end. And next is from Counseling Services, Vanessa Avina Pena. And if you're just tuning in, remember to ask your questions in the comments below, and we'll get to them at the end when we have all 4 of our wonderful guests back. So welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about like the location for Counseling Services?
Sure. So counseling is part of the Recreational Wellness Center. So we're right behind the rec center next door to Health Services. And we have a number of different services available to tend to UTSA students' mental health needs. The first aspect I really want to highlight is our crisis availability. So if a student finds himself in a state of crisis or need emergency assistance on mental health issues, so things like having suicidal thoughts or even being concerned about a friend, any of those aspects would be a crisis in our book. And so we really do want students to take advantage of our walk-in hours. And so we always have a clinician on duty available during business hours. So from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, we have someone available. And then even after hours, we also have a crisis hotline. So if you call our main number, which is 210-458-4140, you are able to speak with a counselor on the spot, which is pretty awesome, I think.
And these are free services available to students?
Yes, so that is one of the biggest questions we get from students about our services. So we're considered part of student services, which means it's already been paid for essentially. And there's only a few of our services that have minimal fees, and that would include, for example, learning disability testing that we do charge a little bit for. And then also to see one of our psychiatrists, so to see them there's no extra charge, but if you are prescribed some form of medication, then that you would pay for out of pocket. But other than that, student services covers.
And so you're paying for the medicine, correct? Not
Correct.
necessarily
Yes.
the visit.
Right. It's
Okay.
the script of the medication.
And so the people that are helping at the counseling services can prescribe medicine, or do you have to see somebody outside of UTSA?
So our psychiatrists can prescribe. So psychiatry is one of our services that we offer. So when a student comes in and we do a formal evaluation with them, if we think that they would benefit from medication, then the counseling side will refer over to psychiatry.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have 4 residents from the Health Science Center that are with us. And then they also have their supervising psychiatrists, and so they are able to provide medication for students.
And so for this crisis availability, would I, like, let's say if a friend of mine is going through a crisis but doesn't want to go see anyone, would I be able to walk them down there? Or?
Absolutely. So we know that that's really difficult to convince sometimes students to come over to see us all on their own. A lot of students have that struggle, or it's difficult to walk through our doors at times, right? Because it's asking students to be really vulnerable with someone that they've never met, and that can be a challenge. But yes, absolutely, you can walk a friend over if you're concerned about them, if that helps. We actually have that happen quite a bit with faculty and staff. Sometimes faculty, for example, will receive an email where a student shares that they're not able to come to class because they're not feeling well, or they might be struggling with symptoms of depression and anxiety, things like that. And so professors will walk students over to see us, and that's a really collaborative way, I think, to get students the help they need.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so how would a student take advantage of these services?
So the way to start services with us, we've actually tried really hard to make us accessible to students. And in the last year, we've implemented this new phone triage system. So let's say a student is coming to us for the first time and they want to get started. All you have to do is call our main number, and set up a phone triage appointment. So what that is it's a 15-minute assessment that a clinician will do over the phone with you. So we ask a couple of key questions, including talking about what brings you into our services, and based on that information, then we can make treatment recommendations from all the different types of services that we provide.
And what are some services that you do provide?
So we provide consultations, we provide individual counseling, group counseling. As I mentioned earlier, we have psychiatry and crisis availability. And then we also have these 2 new programs that we're implementing. They're still pretty new. We started about a year ago. And one of them is biofeedback. So what biofeedback is it incorporates sort of the mind-body connection. And it's essentially teaching you how to recognize when your body is stressed, and then knowing essentially how to calm yourself down. And so that has been a pretty successful program that we're continuing to promote for our students. The other one is WellTrack. So as I think everyone knows, students are very much about accessibility and technology, right, and the use of it. And so sometimes it may not feel that doable to actually come into our office and sit down with someone. So what WellTrack is it's psychoeducational modules that students can do from a computer and just learn on how to manage things like stress or anxiety, depression, and also things like struggling with giving presentations or social anxiety, which are things that we hear students mention a whole lot.
Wonderful. And so I've heard there's stuff like group therapy. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah. So group therapy is essentially one of our treatment modalities that we have that focuses on essentially interaction between students. So there's actually a couple of presenting concerns such as social anxiety where group therapy is actually better than individual counseling because it really helps the student challenge themselves and do what they're afraid to do, which is interacting with others or talking amongst others. And so for situations like that, we will recommend group therapy. Also, a lot of our groups are support groups. So for example, a lot of students will have common presenting concerns such as concerns related to gender and sexuality. So we have an out or questioning group that we have available to students where they can meet other students that have similar struggles as themselves. And very often we've seen that there's more improvement in terms of how students are doing if they're able to talk with other students that have the same struggles as they do, rather than from hearing it from a professional.
Wonderful. And so if you can talk a little bit about what are some concerns and some problems that you see a lot of students come in with?
So we see a large variety of different presenting concerns, but I would say the most common concern that we see is anxiety. So as of the last couple of years, anxiety has really become the most important presenting concern that we see across different universities, not just at UTSA, closely followed by depression. And so sometimes it's also symptoms of that. It doesn't have to mean, diagnosable anxiety or depression. And then we also hear a lot about family distress, relationship concerns are a huge one for university campuses. And then there's also gender and sexuality concerns, and of course academic distress and all of the challenges that present themselves in that.
And so who will be helping these students when they come in with concerns like these?
Yeah, so we're a multidisciplinary team. So what that means is we have licensed professionals from a bunch of different related fields. So psychiatry, they're licensed medical doctors. We have psychologists like myself, and then we have counselors, we have social workers, but everyone is credentialed and licensed. And so what that also means is that we are bound legally and ethically by confidentiality, which means that any information that a student shares with us stays within our offices. And so I think that's a really nice aspect to our work, that students can come in and feel comfortable in sharing anything that they have going on and know that we can't tell anyone outside of our office what's going on.
So can you do reoccurring meetings and appointments with students?
Yes, so we do that in a bunch of different forms depending on We always try to assess for what the student really needs and then go from there. But yes, we do see students on an ongoing basis at times, depending. And so we do, typically that would be an individual counseling, and we're able to see students bi-weekly, so every other week.
And so would you, if a case needed more than bi-weekly, would you be able to do referrals?
Absolutely. So that's also a big part of what we do. We also have a case manager on staff that helps with that. But yes, sometimes when there's a specific issue going on that either the student needs a specialist for, or that is really more of a long-term issue, we would definitely make sure that they have the appropriate referrals to see someone out in the community.
And one more quick question.
Sure.
If a person is having family issues or relationship issues with somebody who is not a student on campus, would they be able to come in for counseling services with you guys?
So we currently are not able to do family therapy, so we don't offer that. But in regards to couples, we do offer couples counseling as well. And as long as one member of the couple is a student, then the other can come in as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we'll bring you back at the end for any other questions that are in the chat box below. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And our next guest is Amanda Graves from Student Health Services. Again, if you're just tuning in, we are doing a resource panel from different departments here at UTSA, and feel free to put your questions in the chat box below, and we will get to them in about 10 minutes when we're done with Amanda and her wonderful services. So, Student Health Services, where is that located?
So we are located over by Campus Rec. If you're standing outside the Convocation Center and you can see Campus Rec, we are that one-story building between the rec and the softball fields and the practice football fields. We're actually in the same building as Counseling Services, so Vanessa's office is right next to ours, and we are located right across Walter Brennan.
Wonderful. And so what are some services that you guys provide?
So we are the medical clinic on campus. We provide general medical care to currently enrolled students. We've got doctors and nurses on staff. So if the student ever gets injured or they get sick, they can come by and see us. We also have health educators on staff like myself, and we do some of the prevention programming on campus. So everything from a blood drive to the free HIV testing that happens once a month, we do all of that.
Wonderful. And so I know that you guys do you do walk-ins or is it more of an appointment basis?
We try to do more of an appointment basis. You can come in and see a nurse on a walk-in basis, and we also have a phone triage line. So what that means is really similar to counseling services. You can call our office and choose to talk to a nurse. It's a free service, and there's no limit to how many times you can call a nurse. We have RNs on staff who all have 20+ years experience in the field and as nurses, and they will do essentially triage. So they'll go over your signs and symptoms, what you're experiencing, and based on what you tell them, they'll kind of help get you where you need to go in the community. Or they can schedule an appointment with one of our medical providers. But you can walk in to see a nurse also anytime during business hours.
Wonderful. And so what are some things that you guys tend to with appointments and whatnot?
So a student can make an appointment for anything ranging from immunizations. We do flu shots. So if you haven't gotten your annual flu shot, it is flu season. You can come in and still get one. You can also get like your Gardasil vaccine, a Tdap, if you need to get TB testing for going into a program where you require it for PT school or nursing school, you can come and get TB tested in our office. We also do, like I mentioned, general medical care, so first aid. You can also do some preventative care. You can come in and get your annual well woman exam, which for a female is your annual preventative exam to include your pap smear if you need one, clinical breast exam, any STI testing. We do STI testing for both males and females, and we can also write prescriptions for any birth control that students may need.
Wonderful. So you guys can write prescriptions and whatnot?
Yes, we've got physician assistants and medical doctors on staff, and they do write prescriptions. So if you feel like you've got anything from strep throat to the flu, we've been writing a lot of Tamiflu this season. They write prescriptions. We just don't have a pharmacy on campus, so you can't fill it in our office, but you can get the prescription in our office.
Wonderful. And so I know earlier you, before the live stream started, you said you had ambulatory care?
Yes.
So what does that mean?
So ambulatory care basically means walking care. We don't do procedures that require anesthesia. We are nationally accredited as a walk-in clinic, so you walk in and you have the ability to walk out, unless you need crutches, and then we can get you those and you can kind of crutch out. But we don't do any procedures, so you won't have go under anesthesia. We won't do any outpatient things like that. It's all just kind of walk-in based.
Okay, so if I break my leg on campus, would I be able to come to you, or?
You could. We will call EMS and get you where you need to go.
Oh, okay.
We wouldn't be able to do the casting or anything for you. Yeah.
Okay. But if I have like a little cut or something and I need a Band-Aid or
Absolutely.
Small things.
Small things, and then if like you've hurt something or you're not feeling well, you think you may have strep throat, you think you might have STI, something like that, we definitely can see you for that as well.
And so worst case scenario, if I'm at the rec or something, I could come into your office and you could figure out where I need to go.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, perfect. And so what is the cost for this?
So to see a health educator like myself, anytime is free. We do one-on-one consultations to help students learn how to quit smoking, weight management, things like that. To see a nurse also, anytime is free. So not only the phone nurse option, but also to walk in and see a nurse is free. If you're going to see either our medical doctors or our physician assistants, that's a $10 appointment fee. And then if there's any lab work or procedures that do happen, those are individual charges. We are in network with the UT System Health Insurance and then also Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO. I knew I was going to mess up something. I'm not that good to just like go through without any mess ups.
Oh, it's fine.
But we do have all of our charges listed on our website. And if you want, you can always call our nurses and ask, well, how much will this charge? How much will that charge? They'll go over that with you. So if it's cheaper to go somewhere that takes your insurance, you can do that, or you can come in and see us. You don't lose your parking spot on campus if you come and see us, which I know can get really aggressive sometimes during the day. So you can always come and see us, and then if it's too much for you, you can then go elsewhere.
So you had mentioned as a health educator, you help with quitting smoking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What if there's like a more serious drug problem or alcoholism? Do you also work with that office?
We don't work with that office. That's actually part of Counseling Services. Counseling Services has a great collegiate center for student recovery, and it helps students who are having any kind of addiction issues or are living in recovery or have been affected at some point by addiction. Not just through them, but through their family members, associates, friends, things like that. They're right next door to our office. So if a student does present and they need more kind of in-depth care, we definitely just walk them right over. They've got someone great, her name is Kristen, and she's always there, and she's really able to get them where they need to go and help them.
Wonderful. And you mentioned that there's an event tomorrow.
Yes. So the Health Education Department, we are hosting an event called Getting Wordy and Talking Dirty. I know, it's great. We have a clinical sexologist coming on campus, and she'll be talking about the cultural taboos and just other taboos that we may have about talking about sex with our partner, family members, things like that, and how that affects our relationships later on, both our intimate relationships romantically and our just family relationships and dynamics. And then she'll go through tips on how to really communicate in a healthy way with your partner. What you do like, what you don't like, what is okay and isn't okay with you, and kind of try to break through those taboo barriers that we all kind of inadvertently have just by being in our culture.
And I know that every semester there's something called Sex in the Dark. Is that you guys?
Yes, that's us. We'll have our Sex in the Dark for this semester on March 8th. And before I forget, the event tomorrow night is in the Rotama from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. But our Sex in the Dark will be in the Willow Room, so that room right next door. And that's where you, we come in and you've got little sheets of paper that we ask you to fill out, and you can ask any sexual health related question. You come into a room, we'll give you glow sticks and fun stuff, and the room has got almost no lighting. And myself and our two other health educators, we go through all the questions that you've submitted, and we try to have a really honest and open discussion about sexual health. We'll also kind of try to get the group involved and see what they think, try to talk in a very safe environment, and that way with the lights low, it kind of gives you a little sense of anonymity. We ask students to raise their glow sticks if they have questions, instead of like saying, oh, Joe Smith over here's got a question. That way it's just, orange glow stick guy, what's your question? So we try to make it in a much more fun and kind of safe environment to really talk about sexual health.
Wonderful. And are there any other services you'd like to highlight?
Our main one right now would be to get the flu shot. If you haven't already gotten the flu shot, please do, since it's abnormally high flu season. And really just to come and see us. Our nurse line is something I always try to advocate to students to use because it's free. You can use it just to talk to them and tell them what you're experiencing, and they'll help you say, well, you might just need to take some NyQuil, sleep it off, or, ooh, you need to go to the ER, get someone to get you there, whatever it may be, and that's a great service to utilize as much as possible.
Do you guys do allergy prescriptions?
We do not. We would, because that's more kind of managed care, so we would help you find an allergist in the community.
And then if, let's say I'm having a headache, could I come down and get like an Advil or an ibuprofen?
Absolutely, you could see one of our nurses, and if you present and they feel like an Advil or ibuprofen would help, then they can definitely get you that. We have that under standing orders.
Wonderful, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
So now we'll do our little panel. You can stay here and we'll just bring everybody else up. So any questions you guys have submitted, we definitely have them right now, and we will ask them. To type it.
Yeah. Right?
There we go.
Get close, guys.
Alrighty, our first question is for tutoring services. Is there a Calculus 3 tutoring?
Yes, we go all the way up to Cal 3.
Wonderful. And then how can I apply to be a tutor?
We have both an online application on our website or one that you can come and pick up in our office. So either one, they can either go online, fill it out, and email it to us, or just come by and pick one up.
So for counseling services, can you go an unlimited amount of times?
That is such a loaded question. We do have some session limits, and that is somewhere close to 12 sessions, but really what we try to focus on is on what the student needs. And so it's hard to give a hard and fast rule on session limits, but that is also, I should mention, is but for academic year. So it doesn't mean if you've had a total of 12 sessions and we will never see you again. We are always going to provide some form of a service, even if that means an off-campus referral. That's what students need.
We kind of have a follow-up question. So we have a bunch of these pamphlets in the office, and we're just wondering what this is. If you could like read it out and just kind of tell us a little bit about it.
So this is not us. This is the Sarabia Family Counseling Center. And so these are from the Department of Counseling, which is different from us. So they do more, from what I understand, they do more community counseling as well, so even if it's non-students that need services. And so I can't really talk a whole lot about what they do because this is a different department. I think this is more of a training clinic is what I know.
All right, definitely. We'll send them that way then, to that department, if they have any questions.
So at least for our department, we are available to any currently enrolled UTSA student. And I think this is where this is different. So if it's someone that's not a student, they would be able to be seen at Sarabia.
So you had mentioned that there was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week hotline for crisis help. What type of assistance do they use? Is it more just to get them out of a crisis and then book an appointment with counseling services?
So typically what that involves, yes, if it's after hours or on a weekend, for example, when we're closed, it's like a stabilization service essentially. So you will get to speak to a counselor. So they're also licensed professionals that you're speaking to. That will help you kind of come up with a safety plan, for example, if the student is feeling like they're not able to keep themselves safe. So they'll help with that. And then they will definitely let counseling services know so that we can follow up with the student as well and then offer them additional services as needed.
Do they do referrals for an off-campus if somebody needs immediate attention to go during the weekends, per se?
Sure, yes. So they'll be able to handle pretty much anything that comes your way. And yeah, there are situations, for example, if a student's having really bad side effects from a medication that they were prescribed even by one of our psychiatrists, if that happens, we would refer them to an ER. And the system that we use for crisis and after hours will be able to do the same thing.
Wonderful. Now for health services, what is the cost to get a flu shot?
So to get a flu shot, if you have our student health insurance plan, the one offered through the UT system, or Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, it's covered at 100% because it's preventative. If you're going to do cash pay, it's $20.
You had already mentioned this, but just to reiterate, can somebody fill prescriptions at the student health services?
We cannot. We don't have a pharmacy on campus. Our providers can write prescriptions, so you just need to go off campus to either Walmart, CVS, HEB to fill them. And honestly, the reason we closed our pharmacy was because they were able to provide prescriptions at such a lower cost because their buying power is greater than ours. So it really is a better service to go somewhere where you can get the prescription for cheaper.
And so for Student Leadership Center, what is the focus of Alternative Spring Break?
Alternative Spring Break is a program that comes out of volunteer services. It's a colleague of mine. She runs it, Brandy Rashke, and they're located in the student union as well. But Alternative Spring Break provides an alternate experience for spring breaks. The traditional kind of spring break that we all hear about or see in the movies is, go down to South Padre or whatever that it looks like for folks. But Alternative Spring Break is a week of service that you do. So this year they're actually going to Colorado. They'll be doing service up in Colorado, Habitat for Humanity. In years past, they've done. I went on one last year. We went to Biloxi, Mississippi, and we're still doing environmental restabilization from Hurricane Katrina. So it just offers an alternate experience for spring break. They also do one in winter as well called Alternative Winter Break.
We have a lot of questions for tutoring services.
Okay.
Is SI considered tutoring?
SI is one of the sister programs under the Tomás Rivera Center, so it's not housed with us, it's a separate program. It's up on the 4th floor of the JPL, but they do a lot of related courses, or some of them overlap with us, but a lot of them are like more of the courses that we don't have tutoring for, but they're also free and everything too.
Can tutoring help with a group of students that come in all at once?
So we actually like when we have a group all from the same class coming in at one time. So because one, they're all going to be hopefully having the same questions, so you can get all of it kind of done in one shot. So that's fine if students come in as a group and they want to get help as a group. It's the same process. If they have a question, they can just do their cone. Tutors will come over and they'll ask. So you can actually more birds with one stone there.
Wonderful. And does tutoring help with English essays?
We don't, but the Writing Center, which is actually housed in the same space, they're right around our cubicle from us, our front desk. They do all of the writing assistance that you would need there, and that's their own appointment based.
Wonderful. And then for the counseling services, you had mentioned about addiction recovery. Can you talk a little bit more about that since we didn't cover it during?
Sure. So collegiate recovery is sort of under the umbrella of counseling services, but they do have their own office, as Amanda mentioned, right next door to health services. And so what they provide is there's a number of services. I think they can meet for consultations with Kristen McElroy, who is the assistant director there. And there's also lots of different support groups. So for drug and alcohol issues that a student may have, or if students are already in recovery, they can also become a part of that community. From what we can see over on our end, it looks like a lot of students feel comfortable even just hanging out in that space, which is awesome. I think that's one of the things that they were really hoping would happen. So we do see students spending time over there at Collegiate Recovery. And if you're interested in any of their services, you can actually find information on them on our website as well, which is just utsa.edu/counsel, COUNSEL. And they'll be able to give you more specific information there about what recovery has going on.
And another question, how does confidentiality and being anonymous play into group therapy?
Great question. So I think students might have that concern with group therapy given that you are in, a group with several other students. So I think part of what can help students feel more comfortable is that every single one of the groups that we offer is run by a licensed professional as the facilitator. And what that facilitator will do starting out is they will kind of set some guidelines and ground rules for the group. A lot of that is related to confidentiality. So I know that when I've run a group in the past, I typically will ask that all group members kind of keep the conversations and information about each other to that space and maybe not go outside and talk about anything that happens in group, because that can feel kind of uncomfortable, right? And so we do ask for that. So I think that's our best attempt to try to address that concern.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming out and being part of our resource panel.
Do we have events?
So, yes.
Okay.
So we're back. Hey. We'll just sit right here. Yeah. We're going to talk real quick about some events that are coming up. So as mentioned earlier, an event tomorrow is Getting Wordy and Talking Dirty. So that's about with this health services in the Retama at 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. So definitely go out there to talk about more about, like, you know, sex education and I don't know.
Sex communication.
Sex communication, that's better.
Yeah. Also going on tomorrow, if you're a member of the Pivot Familia, we do have lottery with our family going on tomorrow. It's going to be 1 p.m. in the Mesquite Room. We're all really looking forward to it. We got some great nacho stuff going for you guys. We have a grand prize if you win the loteria. So unfortunately, I'll be in class. So like somebody else is going to have to pronounce the cards. I don't know how that's going to go with you guys. It's going to be great. Good luck.
Y'all have jalapenos for the nachos?
Yeah, right there.
Just making sure.
Oh, don't worry. We got everything. There's also pizza in research. You'll see these all around the flan. And it's going to be From Slavery to the Sidelines, a socio-historical analysis of black athletes. So that's definitely something really cool.
Yeah. When is that one happening?
This is going to be happening Tuesday, February 20th. So that's again tomorrow from 12 to 12:45 in the JPL Assembly Room, which is 4.04.22.
This one's kind of interesting. I've seen it advertised around in like the UC, but they have this thing called leisure classes that they're offering. So they're going to be teaching you how to crochet from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Buckeye Room. Where is the Buckeye Room?
There's the Buckeye Room?
I didn't know that either. But like I said, it's advertised all around the UC, and of course we'll put all of this information up on our Facebook or our Twitter for you guys to find out about it. So if you've ever wanted to crochet,
if you aren't already following us, all of our social media is in the comment or the description box below, so easy for you to find it. Just go click and it's right there.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm super excited for, on the 22nd, which is, when is that?
That's
Thursday. Yeah, so this Thursday is the 11th Annual African American Studies Symposium focusing on Black and Brown futures. It's going to be happening from 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. So like if you can go any time during that day, definitely go check it out. It's mainly going to be housed in the Denman Ballroom, and this year the keynote speaker is Dr. Nalo Hopkinson. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. But she's an award-winning novelist. Like, it just sounds amazing. Black and Brown features. This is very current politically, culturally with what's going on. So get an academic perspective on it.
And then we're going to have in the Paseo at 5 p.m. What day is that?
That's the same day.
Oh, same day. Is going to be the jazz, or no?
No,
it's going to be Invites music series.
Yeah, we don't have the artist who's going to be performing, but you've seen the little stages that they set up outside the UC. They're having another one of those musical guests performing. We don't have the name of that person, but I'm sure it's advertised all around campus.
And later that day at 7:30 p.m. in the Recital Hall, which is the music building, it's going to have the UTSA Jazz Ensemble concert. So definitely check that out.
This Friday, starting at 6:30, maybe 7, depending on what the flyer says, there's a creative reading and writing series where they've invited a writer named Karen Tay Yamashita. I'm butchering these names today. But yeah, she's going to be an Asian American writer, and she's going to be here reading from her works and everything. So it's usually pretty cool. Sometimes they all go out to dinner, so you might be able to get to have dinner with a famous author. So definitely check that out. Oh, and we have the actual musical guest. It's Lacey Brinson, who does Americana and country folk. This just in, breaking news. So go check her out at the Paseo Music Series.
And then also this Friday is going to be the UC Cinema Nights. They're showing Coco.
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see it.
Good.
Are they going to have, because I know that there's an English version and a Spanish version, so I wanted to see the Spanish version.
But definitely outside of the Retama, so when you go and see the Student Health Services event tomorrow, definitely check out outside of the Retama is the UC Cinema Nights flyers. So
yeah,
you can always find out if they're going to be playing both or not.
I guess. I guess that was it that we had for announcements. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Also, thank our guests for showing up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for everyone that submitted questions. If you submitted a question during the chat during the video we didn't get to, or you submit it after this video is already posted, definitely post your question and we'll get to it in the next video, and we might even name drop you because we'll feel bad for having missed your question. It's happened in the past.
And don't think that it's just AJ and I who are going to answer it. We definitely have all the these resources, so we'll reach out to them. Watch our social media. That's where we put a lot of our information. Ask questions on there. We know people around campus to ask these
We have a lot of friends.
as you can see.
Yeah, definitely. So this will be the conclusion of this video. Tune
Yes.
back in 2 weeks. So not next Monday, but the Monday after that. Do we know the topic?
Yes, but I don't know it off the top.
We don't know the topic off the top of our head, but it's going to be terrific. So thanks for tuning in. It's been
you.
wonderful.
Have a good one.